Good afternoon, members. Welcome to this meeting of the Redesign Board. This meeting will be recorded and later uploaded to the Council's YouTube channel. We'll start now the agenda with apologies for absence.
Chair, I have apologies from Alistair Christie, who is substituted by Councillor Baird. I also have apologies from Councillor Mackenzie and Councillor Munro. And if I could just run through attendance, that would be great. Councillor Aitken.
Present, thank you.
Councillor Boyd. He did indicate he was coming, but he's perhaps running late. Councillor Bremner.
I'm here.
He's oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. Councillor Campbell Sinclair. Councillor Baird.
Present.
Councillor Christie, Fraser.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Councillor Green. Councillor Hendry. Thank you. Councillor Hutchison.
Here, thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor Jarvie. No. Councillor Jones.
Here.
Thank you. Convener, you're here. Thank you. Councillor Logue. Councillor Saggers. Not here. Councillor Smith.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we also have Mr. Gibson from Unison.
Present here, yes.
Thank you. And Mr. McPherson from GMB. He's not here. Okay, that's everybody. Thank you.
Members, do you have any declarations of interest? None. Okay, thank you. Item 3 on your agenda, members, is the minutes of the meeting of the 30th of August. They've already been approved by the Council on the 14th of September, so these are really just for noting, members. Great, thank you. Next item is the redesign of Highland Council work programme update. So, John.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just give a few brief headlines from the report. So, as usual, this report covers the four main programmes that we focus on. So, asset management, which is in section 5.2. We've actually got a separate report on the agenda that Mark will speak to shortly. 5.3 in the report, roads. So just to highlight to members that a workshop will be taking place on the 17th of January, which is looking at the revenue and capital budget distribution. So I think invites are going out for that workshop. The project is carrying on with looking at the changes identified in various lean reviews that have been carried out. So at the moment, they're concentrating on road construction consents and the events, marches and parades consents, and are then looking at planning what the next stage of the project will be in the new year. Paragraph 5.4 is covering the in-house bus operations. So the focus at the moment is on the delivery of recommendations from the TAS review, which will include a procurement of a software system for managing the service. Also pointing out that the use of the under 22 travel pass for school transport services is planned to be piloted in a couple of schools in the spring. Paragraph 5.5, the My Council programme. Several points to note here. Firstly, the draft customer charter is on the agenda as a separate item. the customer contact strategy, which is one of the key deliverables from the programme. The timescales for producing this have been extended to allow more time to engage with staff and customers. There has been some good engagement, so this is seen as a positive step and the right thing to do to get as many views as possible. Also, a couple of weeks ago, the new telephony solution went live in the service centre. This should provide greater reliability and sort of functionality that is needed to support a modern contact centre. There is reference in paragraph 6 to Trades Framework Review, which is a project which is being brought back to the Redesign Board. Mark Rogers is here to answer any questions on that if need be. There is a recommendation in the report that the project team are asking for consideration by the Redesign Board for members to be appointed to support this project. And that's happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions for John? Trish.
John, on the road conditional strategic roads and asset management plan, when are we likely to see something coming through on that one? There doesn't seem to be any mention in here of it actually starting to be developed yet. And on the trades framework redesign, what's different about that from what we abandoned in 2020? Thank you.
The first question, I'm not sure if Malcolm is here. Yep, I'll hand over to Malcolm.
So we're due to have a workshop on the 18th of January. That will cover off a lot of the issue you're talking about, as well as a number of others. The roads redesign project is going well. It's focused a lot on process improvement and a lot of lean review work being done thus far. But as we move into new year, we are actually starting to look at these much bigger structural issues around funding allocations, around structures, around efficiency and use of plant and machinery. So we've got the redesign project will run through till next November. So the next steps over the course of next year is really to focus in on these operational changes and improved efficiencies.
Thanks, John. I think Trish was saying what's changed this time from it coming back. Yep. So within the report at 6.2, I think there's an honest acknowledgement that the outcomes from the last time we launched this were suboptimal, to be nice about that. What we're trying to do then is to balance out those 4 bullet points within that particular section, and those are the things that we felt that didn't work quite as well as they could have done the last time around, and try to find a way to overcome them. And I suppose the 3 sort of key ones that I'd pick out that we have from lessons learned from the last time around is a better objective balance between cost and outcomes, because that was felt to be not quite in the right place in terms of balance. I think one of the things from my own memory of this, and it was launched just as I joined the council, which shows you it's been quite a while now, was one of the complexities around differential travelling rates that was attached to jobs, the A and B rate debate. So we will need to pick up on that. I think that's a key lesson learned. And then whatever model we come up with as a result of conversations around this topic, and hopefully with the input of embedded members, rolling it out all areas, all trades at once was quite ambitious. And I don't think there's anything wrong in trying to be ambitious sometimes or taking a risk in certain things, but clearly that didn't work quite as we had anticipated, and was one of the factors behind it being withdrawn shortly after introduction. So it's a combination of those 3 things. I'm trying to be quite honest about, the whole things that we felt contributed towards it not working so well the last time, and that's why the report's written in the way that it is. I hope that actually what will be different going forward in the future is if we answer those points satisfactorily, if we get satisfactory conclusion to those issues that I've been talking about here, then we will have something which is much more resilient and actually capable of being how we operate going forward, and we won't find ourselves in a repeat of the situation that we found ourselves in 4 years ago. Thanks.
John, online, John Gibson.
Thank you, Chair. It's questions in relation to the trades framework redesign. What guarantees do we have, or we will have in place, that external employers are paying their employees at a decent rate, as in Scottish Living Wage? And what also guarantees do we have that if we're going to put work out to external suppliers, that first of all, we have maximised all the trades that are being used within the Highland Council?
They're two good points, John, and I would expect that as part of the process of reviewing this proposed trades framework, those are two key points that we'd want to take into account, and that would be very important criteria for us to select. In principle, I think people would probably agree with much of what you said, and I would hope that you'd be able to sort of fully participate on those two particular points and help shape what that looks like as part of this review.
Any further questions, members? Okay, members, you're also asked to consider the appointment of member representatives for this trade framework redesign. If you could email me or John with, I suppose, if you've got an interest in this, there may be some members who've really got quite an interest in this, maybe Councillor Jones, etc. So if you would email either me or John, then we'll take that forward. Can we agree with the recommendations, please? Okay. Thanks, John. Item 4 is asset management. Mark.
Thank you. So what we are providing through this report is an update from the last redesign report, and you'll note that there are two recommendations. The first of which is to agree that the Ardross Street sandstone building at headquarters, so just over the back there, has been found to be non-viable for the purposes of conversion into housing, that actually repurposing that for office accommodation and enables us to outline, to deliver a range of other rationalisation projects within the Inverness areas set out later on in the report. So we're asking for agreement on that, and then the rest we're asking that people note. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail on the report. The context behind what we're trying to achieve through this particular strand of work is set out through section 4, and in particular at 4.3 we talk about our ambition to centralise the administrative function through 5 key office spaces which are set out there, and indeed in the last in redesign in November 22, which is referenced there, we agreed the general principle that all buildings were in scope of that type for rationalisation unless otherwise there was a business case brought forward. So that's consistent with that. At section 5 we talk about some of the work in relation to Inverness HQ, and I talked about it in my introductory comments here. Actually being able to repurpose the old HQ building does enable us to deal with some long-standing issues with the condition of, for example, Porter Cabins Block A, Block B, etc. Finley's also available to pipe up with any of the detail around that if necessary. We're also talking then at 5.3 about the strategic action plan for the Inverness area, which we are currently finalising. A similar approach has also been taken in relation to Dingwall, and we hope to be able to go to members in the Dingwall area with a detailed set of proposals on their ward business meeting on December the 18th. Actions and risks set out 5.4, 5.5, so they're fairly straightforward. In section 6 we talk about the challenges of council depots. I think that's fairly straightforward, so I'm not going to dwell on that in any detail, but Finlay and I would be happy to take any further questions in relation to that. Similarly, in relation to the other work streams, principally Portree Place Demonstrator Project, people will know I jumped out of outlined here. We do talk about Dingwall properties at section 7.2, but I've already talked about that, so I'm not going to dwell on that any further. And it's important to say that this report at this time is an update on the process that currently exists today in relation to asset rationalisation, and what will be going forward to the Council on the 14th is a sort of next steps set of proposals for consideration. And really, I don't want to dwell on the absolute detail of that, but to give you an idea about what will be contained within that paper, it will talk in a little bit more detail about some of the challenges that we have across the totality of all of the assets that we own within the built environment. It will give some proposed solutions to be considered from that, and it will talk about key work streams that the Council could consider for further rationalisation activity to expand the focus away from what has principally been today around offices and office-based rationalisation. And then finally, that report will conclude with a set of recommendations about the hierarchy of how we might want to invest capital in a range of different areas that the Council has ambitions to deliver on. Thank you, Chair.
Mark, in 5.2, you explain about effectively what is Block A and its deficiencies in terms of conversion into affordable housing. Were there negotiations carried out by with any private developer to attempt to ascertain whether or not it was a viable proposition to market the property? Maybe you could explain that further, please.
Thank you. I may need to defer to one or either Malcolm or Finlay to give you the detail on that. I do know that the unit costs were substantial, coming out at around about £400,000 per unit converted. As to whether there was negotiations on the specific point you mentioned, I would have to defer to my other two colleagues named.
And Malcolm isn't here. So. Finlay?
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that we had a private architect's practice actually engaged in actually doing the layouts and the difficulties in regards to floor heights, windowsill heights, etc. Just the age of the building. We were looking at over £400,000 for a 2-bed apartment in that block. We haven't talked directly to any developer past actually having the layouts carried out and speaking with our building control and planning colleagues. So it's an expensive redevelopment, but that option clearly would be still open.
So in that case, we appreciate the fact that it's not developable for affordable housing by us. But I think the question that was asked at the last redesign board, is it a potential high-end development for someone other than us? Mark?
I will have a conversation separately with Malcolm outside of here, because that was led by housing development function, which sits with his service. But on the wider point, £400,000 for the conversion cost, that's before any developer profit element would be on top. And I think whilst absolutely there's merit in exploring that option, that you would be looking at sale prices for relatively small units, which would be certainly the very top end of an Inverness market, if indeed not very challenging. I mean, that might work in an Edinburgh or a Glasgow context. It would be slightly more challenging to make that work in this context, but I will absolutely undertake to get that answer to you from Malcolm and other colleagues in due course.
Okay, in that case, I would suggest that we defer agreement of item 1 or recommendation 1, and that that recommendation is, I suppose, I wouldn't imagine you'll have time to do that sort of work between now and the full council when this will come. So to a future meeting of the redesign board.
I mean, if it's just turning on the straight question about has there been a negotiation with anybody and what's our assessment of the market and would it be feasible or not, I would hope we would be able to deal with that in the next couple of days or so in terms of an outline answer, in which case I could have a conversation with you to see how you're minded as a result of that.
Okay, I'm quite happy with that. Can we agree the other recommendations, members? Thank you. Now we have item 6 is the store progress update. So, Alan.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. So this is a presentation on the store. So just take you through some slides, if I may. So in terms of introduction, we own the land at the store. It's about 94 hectares, 23 acres, and it's formerly known as the Old Manor Store, but we've foreshortened it to the store. Facilities there include toilet facilities, path network, motorhome waste facilities, and car park, both on and off-street parking. The visitor numbers are significant and continue to grow. And for instance, we're projecting to increase by over 270,000 just this calendar year, which is a phenomenal achievement. So the approach, right from the start, member involvement, I thought was key in terms of the project team. But as was partnership working across not just internally within the council with services and members, but also with external in terms of our communities and partners such as Sky Iconic Sites Project, Nature Scott, Sky Connect, and last but by no means least, Glenmorvan Associates, who did the initial work for us about 18 months ago, looking at this work and what the potential was. What was important was in terms of governance, and what we have done is very much followed a PMO approach, a Programme Management Office approach, where a sponsor, I took responsibility for the project, with Matt Bailey as the lead and Amy Smith as project manager, and other members of services formed the project board. But what was really, really important, members, was regular conversations with the local members, not just taking reports to area committee, but at the board business meetings that offer various flexibility of conversation. We were very keen to make sure we thought digitally in terms of how we actually digitise the whole process to ultimately improve the visitor experience. But what we're also keen to do was actually to think, considering in terms of environment, and for example, try and provide electric vehicle charging at the site. I think what was also important, members, was it wasn't just about improving the visitor experience, it was actually about improving the staff welfare and the facilities that we've done. And providing a cabin fully funded at about £20,000 when I saw it there a couple of weeks ago, it's been really, really helpful and appreciated by the staff. But the whole approach had to be innovative, members, for me. It wasn't just about putting in a new store centre, for example. It was all the support behind it. So we've created our own website, the store. We're designing it in a sense that we can deliver e-commerce. We will be able to sell local products online. And we've also created a brand, and the brand was agreed by the Sky Area Committee members, and that was important. So it's trying to create that sale, create a brand for the store, but also taking cognizance of local culture in terms of the promotion of Gaelic, in terms of provision of interpretation panels across the site, which were bilingual. But fundamentally, members, and not just about the financial challenges the council face, but also to ensure that we maintain the store in its glory in terms of path network, it was important that we did provide opportunities to generate income, but also try and support local businesses where we can. Last but by no means least was actually trying to secure funding and finance for the very work and ambitions that we needed to do, because we recognise the significant pressures on the council's budget, both revenue and capital. So to that end, in terms of summary, we've secured £685,000 capital from various means, including the Islands Infrastructure Fund. What that has done then is the store centre, the EV charging, which is about £71,000, and the staff welfare facilities, which is going to take about 20, will be funded in full. The benefits from that, for instance, we reviewed the car parking charging policy from April 23, and as a result of that, we're providing at least £200,000 extra income. In fact, it's more than that, because the projected numbers of visitors is actually exceeding, and we're now predicting to get about 270,000. In addition to that, what we're keen and ambitious and what we think we can do is through additional initiatives, through the store centre, through guided walks, promotion of weddings, etc., we can generate new income for the local economy, possibly in excess of £500,000. And all for that, for £45,000 of project costs it's cost the council. So the return on investment is not insignificant. The report, members, and I make no apology for its detail, from section 6 to 16 can come under the banner aims and progress and our achievements. And they are significant. Members, in terms of project finance, us being able to secure money from various means in terms of Island Infrastructure Fund. And I'm absolutely delighted that Modular West, a company based in Barra, is actually providing the work for us. And they're looking as though we can maybe get 29th of April as a go-live date, potentially. That's what we're aiming for. But there's a variety of sections, members, in here, and I'll just highlight some if I may. So as well as the project finance secured and site parking charges amended, we've created local employment. We've improved the toilets, and through excellent work from Matt and Amy, reviewed the contract for the disposal of waste and saved some money in there. Installation of interpretation panels, and we've got full funding for EV charging for electric cars. 2 direct current DC and 2 AC alternate current, which does take a bit longer to charge, but nonetheless it depends. We're trying to cater for both car types. We've secured the domains for the website, and what we also have done is made sure any other similar domains we've bought. It doesn't cost that much, but when we build the brand, we want to make sure we take all reasonable steps to protect that brand. So the website is live, and you feel free to go on and look at it. And just as an example, is to show how appealing the store is, not just within Highlands, not just within Scotland, but across the world, without any advertising. 200 of the first 1,000 hits to this website were from America. So it's got worldwide appeal in terms of visitors. So we've got planning permission for the store centre, and that will be built, as I say, by the end of April. That's what we're hoping to do, and as I say, through Modular West, we're based in Barra. So what's the immediate future then, members, between now and April 24 in terms of what the project team and members are working to do? It's looking at staffing, we've covered finance, talked about VAT, the statutory context, and my colleague Paul Nevins here today in terms of, we've provided the very important legal advice to me regarding this. The community wealth building that you approved in full council in June 23 about trying to support local development and opportunities. But last but no means least, our approach to retail, our approach to e-commerce, and overall our approach to working with communities for their betterment. So types of things that we're looking for is having that store centre there, having that brand that you can see in the t-shirt there. Now, everybody's resisted the temptation of me being the official model. I'm not quite sure, but I'm not quite sure we'll get. But in terms of local products with the brand. When we go live in April, members will have created 5 new jobs to do this work, and that's really important for the islands, important for everywhere, but especially so for Skye and Raasay. Goods will be available to purchase, but they'll also be available to purchase online through a digital site. What we will be undertaking to do is between now and April and beyond is to develop our communication and marketing, to develop the site, promote the site in terms of what we do. The key thing is, members, you've already got 270,000 people visiting that site. What we're trying to do is enhance the services that's currently on offer at the store. So looking beyond April 24, what are the various community development opportunities? And these will continue to grow. This list is by no means exhaustive. It just gives you an idea of what we're looking to do. Digital parking, weddings, and guided walks. Through the guided walks, the I&E service, looking to have guided walks up to 5-10 people in a group and charge and show them around the store. There's various ways up and down the hill, up to the store. But also, and there was a Communities in Place committee last week there on the weddings, the annual report, there is a good commercial opportunity to provide a service, for people to get married, and the conventional get married in churches, etc. That views are being expanded to get married in other parts, and we're trying to play to that market for the greater good of the local economy. So what's really important, members, and I know that the Chair is particularly keen that through the redesign, is how do we measure success? What will it look like, and how will we know we've actually achieved that? Well, the income that we're looking to achieve in the top box there, 350, I would say, is in addition to the additional car parking money of 200,000. That's what we think we can get. We've already got the 200,000. but the expected benefits are in the table there. And as well as regular reporting to the Skye and Ross Area Committee members about how progress will be going, I'm very comfortable, if you wish a final report or an update report, say, in a year's time, come back to Redesign Board with progress against each of these things that we say we're going to do. I'm very happy to do that. So, in support of the Skye and Ross future plan, there is a commitment for further development, members, and these three I've shown are just some examples. But I would just echo the importance of working with the communities, working with members, working with officers, working with other partners. The potential is significant. And I really look forward to seeing a successful story beyond 2024. So members, there's a number of recommendations in there for you to consider, but happy to take any questions, as are my project team. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. There's no doubt about this. This is a real success story, and it's something that has been done in the logical way rather than doing it to communities. We've done it with the community. So it's a really good thing. And Raymond and I want to know if you've got T-shirts of the appropriate size. So extra, extra large and just extra large for me. So, John.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. And first of all, can I thank Alan, Matt and Amy for the work that they've done with local members in the community over the last 3-4 years. And I think what this shows, I mean, this was through partnership working. And we had a store item in every single area business meeting. And I think what's really important is that when we were having that partnership working agenda, it wasn't officers coming and saying to us, this is what we're doing. It was officers coming and discussing with us and us putting forward ideas, them challenging us challenging them. So it really was through partnership working. But most importantly of all, it was also community partnership working, because we had to get the community on side at the same time. Because the initial thought would be, oh, here we go, project on Skye, all the money's come back to Inverness, nothing for the local community. Now, that wasn't how it went. So that community engagement is really important. And it was important for the community to also see that we were putting some of our own disaggregated budget into the project, which is quite substantial when you look at the figures. But right from the beginning, it was local members and the community seeing an opportunity and going to officers of the council and having that discussion. Now, there are plenty of times when I've gone with ideas to officers in the council and they've basically said, no chance. But in this particular situation, because we had done the evaluation, because we'd seen the potential, the officers listened to us and they worked with us, which is really, really important. So it's really about seeing an opportunity and then trying to develop that opportunity in partnership with your community and with officers. And I think what's really important here, I mean, I foolishly said at a committee recently that this idea had come from myself because I was wanting a new T-shirt or something. And then Councillor Miller reminded me that he'd had this idea some 20 years before I came on the scene. But then when he came back after his wee sabbatical, he saw that his ambitions had now been realised by younger and more energetic councillors. But maybe he's got a different opinion. But just again, just thank the officers and everyone involved. And this is a cash cow. I don't care what anyone says. But it only works if we've got engagement with local communities and they also see the benefits coming back to them as well as to the council.
Well, that's 2-0 already, Drew, so you need to be careful. Jackie.
Thank you, Chair. This is a fantastic project and well done to everyone who's been involved in it. I think the design is really tastefully done. It's not going to stand out as anything tacky or anything. It goes really well with the area. My only tiny concern is that it could be a victim of its own success if it's not done in certain ways. One of the things I'm a bit worried about is the car park. You're going to get a lot of buses, a lot of motorhomes. What provision have you got in place if it is full? Where else will people park? And do you have stewards and things to manage that? And I wasn't sure if you were going to have any refreshments like water or coffees or anything at the visitor centre as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, The car park's already under pressure, and I think both on and off street. There will be limited capacity to expand, if any, because of the nature of the land. So the advantage of having a couple of staff to steward the car park is really, really important to make best use of the available space. I think there's about 183, 184 spaces there, if memory serves me right. In terms of the whole rollout of the store, I think there may be other sites, and this is the second item to today's redesign board, where if we can provide alternative opportunities across Skye and beyond, you might then actually spread the number of visitors more evenly across Highland, therefore removing some or mitigating some of the pressure points that may be the case. I think the reality, though, is I think car parking is always going to be a challenge, I'm afraid, at the start. So this project is more about providing services to the existing customers rather than actually with a plan to enhance the customer. If that does happen, we do have, in terms of access to the goods and services, we will have a digital site, which will help as well, hopefully take some of the pressure off. But it's a known challenge, and I'm not quite sure we've got a perfect answer for it. We can try and take mitigation, but I think that might be the best we can do. Okay.
Raymond.
Thanks very much. I think this is a really good example of a blueprint that others can follow as well, in terms of investment and creating sources of income and increased sources of income. I think that we have the ability to now look at other, some of the rest of us and some other areas within Highland have the ability to be able to look at the area, some of the areas that could be developed and enhanced, and make more of what we've got available in terms of our natural environment for tourism and visitor experience, and actually to make it even build on an all year round income basis, because whilst the tourist may only be here from March to October, in Skye, you still have the ability to be able to sell the ability for walks, weddings, and other all year round activities. So I think it's a fantastic idea, and I'm quite keen to see where we can use this blueprint as an example for other places to follow, and to show that in 6.1 where the investment came from, and the income that we can get from that's some worth serious consideration.
Drew.
Thanks, Commissioner. I just should reiterate what my fellow bookend said over there about the project, and again thanks to Matt and Amy for the hard work, and of course Mr Gunn for visiting Skye without his electric car, which probably was a bonus. It has been fantastic success, and I'm glad that Councillor Finlayson took up my idea from 20 years ago and ran with it. I would have walked with it, but he ran with it. So it is a huge success, and it will be even more successful. The car park, yes, the car park is actually full at 10 o'clock every morning, from probably the end of May through till the end of September. But even today, the number of visitors on Skye, and this is the first week in December, is huge. So we have a 12-month of the year season now, so we have a chance for an annual income from this facility. And some people did laugh at us, as John was saying a few minutes ago there, the council, it'll never work. Council don't do things like this, but they have done it. And they've taken along local businesses with them. And Jackie was just saying about coffee and that. Well, there is a local business just at 50 yards along from the car park, which they are doing very well out of the additional car parking that the council have provided. So we are supporting that business, as well as going to be, as Alan said, they're taking in local produce for sale in the shop when it's built, but also online as well. So it is fantastic. But the bottom line, of course, is that we started investing money there some time ago, but it's only thanks to the council at the last budget when they gave us extra money to put into our roads that we actually have now provided a good road from Portree up to the store. So the visitor experience as they leave Portree is far better now than it was 12 months ago. We have a really good, well-surfaced road now. But the profits being taken in from parking charges, and I do hope that other parts of the council will look at this and see what the benefits by introducing parking charges can be, because we're investing the profits that we get back from our illustrious Mr. Manning. We're investing it into infrastructure as well, and also other projects. So the benefits are island-wide from this particular facility. The only thing I would say is that we need to start preparing for next summer, and with the shop which will hopefully be there by April. There's a lot of other things that need to be done round about that, so I'm hoping that will happen. The only concern I do have, and it's not only about the store convener, but it's about all our electrical charging points in Skye. Some of them have been out of action for a year now. So if we're promoting people to travel properly and using new electric vehicles, then we have to make sure that the companies that we are contracting with will actually come and do the work for us, because that's quite important. But I think this has just been absolutely fantastic, and I know that the numbers, there's no sign that the numbers will decrease next year. So we will have this fantastic success at least for another, probably even 10 years. So I think it's well done to everybody, and well done to the council for allowing this to happen as well.
I think that's a really good point, Drew, about the EV charging points. We need to make sure they work, or people really do get peeved if they're expecting a charging point and they can't get one because it's faulty. Then again, if you'd have run with this 20 years ago, then we wouldn't have to worry about electric vehicle charging points.
But we could have recycled
other than
all the
milk
cables.
floats, there wasn't very many. Members, you're asked to note the recommendations, and I hope you're happy to do that. This is one of the most exciting things that the council has produced for a local community in a long, long time, and hopefully it can be replicated in as many places as possible, including in Badenich and Strathspey. So, but then again, we don't have a coastal communities fund. Can we agree to that, please? Alan, I think it's you again. Item 7 on your agenda, members, income generation.
Members, so this report's looking at fees and charges in tourism, in particular fees and charges that we as a council set. I think it's really important that we have a review of existing fees and charges, what they can be, what they mean, but also recognising that things like planning, building warrants, etc., they're set by Scottish Government, so not everything falls to us as yourselves, local members, to decide. But also, second part of the report is really looking at generating new sources of income, and that's building on the aforementioned store project, future projects, and camper vans. So if I cover fees and charges first, members, so as I say, they are generally set by the council. We set something like £40 million a year worth of fees and charges determined by us. As I say, the others are set by Scottish Government, and we're still to wait just exactly what those fees will be from April 24. What we can do, though, is the fees set by us could help bridge the not insignificant gap, the £108 million gap for the next 3 years that Brian Porter has been reporting to your good selves in previous councils. So this is just one option, members, for your consideration about how we could bridge that gap. The numbers don't include any of the possible income we would get from fees set by others, just for the avoidance of doubt. This is about fees set by the Highland Council. So this is the high-level list of fees that are determined by the council, folks, and varying degrees from marine fuel right down to private water supplies. They're generally set by us, but there are a number of other factors, excuse me, that come into play into whether or not fees and charges are increased and by what and by how much. So with that in mind then, members, what will be our policy and approach as part of the budget setting for 24-25 and beyond regarding these fees and charges? Is it a general uplift? Is there an uplift? And this report is just to try and give you some further information, members, for you to consider that in advance of the budget paper on the 29th of February. But there's various points to consider, members, when you're looking at fees and charges, and this list is by no means exhaustive. It's the affordability of the person and the affordability of the council. Price elasticity. Do we increase the price? Do we not? And I'll give you an example, the garden waste collections, the brown bins. Alan McKinney and I, we took a deliberate decision or deliberate view to recommend to council not to increase the fees from April 23, because we'd seen historic price increases, had seen an element of customer drop-off. Now, overall, the income was not materially impacted, but what it did result in was customer behaviour then taking that garden waste sum to landfill, and of course we pay landfill tax on that. So there's a number of factors involved. So interestingly, as I reported to C&P committee last week, there are 850,000 odd more people getting their garden waste bins collected than they were the year before. And that's giving the council £41,000 more money, and we didn't increase the price. That's less going to landfill. There's a number of factors in it, and every one of these fees, members, are very, very different. And it really does require services to give some real good thought into that, with independent and autonomous challenge by Brian, a Section 95 officer, if the fee is anything other than a general uplift. So there's always exceptions to the rule, members, and officers will endeavour to provide you as much information as possible in advance of these final decisions. The key bit is, members, is that there is flexibility in your approach in terms of the fees that you set, but also it would be remiss of me to mention that some of the services, such as in car parking, some of the service income targets that are historic, and even the recent I&E revenue monitoring for Q2 does suggest some of the car parking sites overall were under pressure. So cognizance needs to be taken for that when we're setting final fees and charges. I think what's also really, really critical, members, is public views, engagement. And what we have done, we've got the ongoing survey and the simulator. And just to give you an idea, members, in the report, was of those that have completed the simulator, it's about 185, give or take, about 94% did put through accepted or reported that an increase in fees and charge would be required in order to balance the books in terms of the bridging the gap, certainly for 24-25, which itself is 61 million. The average price increase of all those was 11.5%. Remember, so that will explain what this slide is showing you here. So members, these are just some options for you to consider, but also to help the thought process between now and budget setting day. CPI inflation, Consumer Price Index. There are two other types of inflation, CPIH and RPI, but CPI is generally regarded as core inflation, the most accurate measure, and that's currently at 4.6%. If we applied that universally across all the fees and charges, that would create additional income of about 1.8 million. What I would say, though, members, is increasing it by CPI means we're just standing still. Our costs have gone up possibly even more by CPI. But if you use that as a context, if you increase fees and charges by April 24, from April 24, sorry, we're no better off in reality in terms of comparing to April 23 because of the impact of inflation on the price and value of our budget and the cost of our goods and services. If you went to the other extreme, possibly even as 11.5% as a simulator response, that would provide additional income of about 4.6 million. Members, I'm not here to advocate any one particular option. My job is to give you the work and the ideas, the work the officers are doing behind the scenes to provide informed options to help you make the ultimate decision on the 29th of February. I think cognisance, though, when you recognise that there is a not insignificant gap of 108 million, not increasing the fees and charges at all, I find difficult to see as an option, especially when inflation is as high as 4.6. Last month it was 6.7. Not that long ago it was 10%. So just some numbers in there. So in terms of, as well as reviewing your own fees and charges, you've also then got tourism, i.e. generating new income for the council. Now, obviously, we've covered the store in the previous item, and I suppose my challenge, my request, my ask, members of all of your good selves is, are there other options out there that we could do? What the store, I think, has given us is a template in how we can do this, which could then mean we can deliver this more quickly. Now, it will require funding, absolutely, and maybe there's a consideration for the council to consider use of reserves. I don't know, that's in the report, that's one option. But there's always external funding out there, members, and I think if you can show clear vision with officers, just like we did with the Skye and Rossie Area Committee, there is external funding there to be got. What we then need to look at is looking at the business case for future sites, the capacity to raise revenues, just the normal business case stuff, the ability to maximise the tourist experience, the availability of land owned by Highland Council. I know Paul Nevin's looking at land audits, etc. is one of the themes across the council. There may be some key enablers from Paul's work that creates opportunities for here. So it's always to show these ideas are always inextricably linked, in my opinion anyway. I think it's the capacity of the site, is it the existing numbers of the site, and as I say, the opportunity to leverage and match funding. So I'm sure, members, as successful as the store is going to be, there'll be other equivalents out there. And I'm really keen to hear what options and opportunities you may think there are across your own respective wards and across Highland area. Another option could be in relation to camper vans, where some of the reports suggest there can be over 200,000 camper vans visit Highland each and every year. So what we're trying to do is we're undertaking further research, literature reviews from various websites and other councils. And some of the things that we could look at to generate income from camper vans could be to charge where we're not currently charging, create new pitches, create new business opportunities for us on land that we already own. Consider providing EV charging points, and I should say working EV charging points, Drew, just for that. Review the policy on overnight parking, extend as appropriate. But also ultimately then is to extend to consider a form of loyalty scheme, a voluntary scheme for camper vans to pay to recognise that there are costs being incurred by the council for the camper vans coming to Highland. And it's getting that balance, recognising the economic benefits they bring to Highland against the fact our gap and the fact we're incurring not insignificant costs in terms of looking the wear and tear on road. So I've put in 3 bits down there, I'm not sure if you can see it, but it says, even if you're at a registered site for camper vans, how can we get them to contribute more to the wear and tear of our roads? If they're not in a registered pitch, they're not contributing to waste collection. I'm paying for it. Well, Alan McKinney's waste budget is paying for it. Kind of thing. So what can we do there better? But also, is there appetite out there that if we were to develop a scheme, a voluntary scheme from camper vans to provide a token money, £50, £100 a year, anything like that at all, which would go towards us continuing to develop the services that we provide to ultimately create new pitches and remove some of the challenges that we've got with some of the parking for camper vans, but also the wear and tear that we have to meet the cost directly of. So members, this is also about creating money. So I make no apologies for having a slide just with the money on it. The fees and charges that earlier slides I had talked about could be, if it's CPI, it would be 1.84 million. If it was 11.5%, it would be 4.6 million. Within the tourism and the suggestion we've got, 2 further projects of store, it could be additional 300,000 for each. And I assume they're just 2 further sites, 1 in each year. It's as simple as that. There may be other sites, and then we could do more, but that's just in terms of our current line of thinking. In terms of camper vans, the aforementioned suggestions that was coming up with, we could get half a million, and perhaps even beyond that, recognising over 200,000 camper vans coming to Highland. What I would say, members, as well, is you'll be aware of the tourist levy, going through legislation. Camper vans on the site are subject to tourist levy, but not the ones that don't park on a registered site. So we need to future-proof what we're doing within Highland Council, whatever we do. Within all of it, members, I mentioned in the STORE project the importance of governance, and I look at Kate when I say governance, because that is key. That gets things delivered, members, ultimately. And I'd like you, some of the words I use, it removes the treacle layers. Things that are stopping things getting done, the sponsor and leader, highlighted quickly and are dealt with quickly. So what we would be proposing is having an income generation board with the terms of reference, the TOR terms of reference outlined in your paper there, that's detailed in this slide. And I think that's important. So members, whatever you do agree on the 29th of February, officers can have that internal governance to deliver that reassurance. And as requested, future reports, the redesign board, if you wish, to reassure you of that. We would recommend some of the reports going to corporate resources in terms of a corporate resources committee function, but certainly redesign and further redesign opportunities, more than happy for a redesign board to consider them and any associated working groups. Members, thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Alan. Rudy.
Thank you, convener, for allowing me to speak as I'm not a member of this committee. I'd first like to thank Alan for not only all the work that he's done with the store, but for bringing this report forward.
You went dead for a wee while there, Rudy. So just start again.
No, thank you for bringing this paper forward. It's very helpful. I would just like to ask in relation to the appendix, and it was actually put up on some of the slides. Would it be possible to have a breakdown of the income against these high-level costings? I think it'd be interesting to see how much each one brings in. But my second point that I would like to make is in relation to section 6.3 of the report, and it outlines the wonderful work that's been done at the store and how this could be rolled out in recurring years to increase the sites. My one sort of question, if I can ask, is it states after running costs from all three sites that would be shared equally with the respective areas. Would that mean that the money from the store would be used to equal out perhaps other sites that don't create as much revenue, or would it still be by the particular ward? Would each ward get its share? Would it be put into a central pot? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Stewart. Yeah, the first question in terms of Appendix 1, in terms of numbers, yeah, that information can be made available against each of the individual lines. We can do that in future reports if members would find that helpful. In terms of the treatment of the income, yeah, I think the two things most important is, first of all, it would be net of costs, first of all, and then it would be shared equally. I think there's an element of political decisions and treatment of the income when that happens. I think as a principle, Rudy, I would stick to what's stated in the report, and I think then it ultimately then be when we have actually delivered these income savings, we can then have the discussions about what money particularly goes to what area. I think as a general principle, though, as net of costs, the money does need to be shared within the respective areas. I think that's only in fairness, because in relation to store, for example, and the site, we do have a responsibility with Nature Scott to maintain the site, so it is important that as income goes back direct to store to do that work.
Paul.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not a member of this committee either. I've a couple of thoughts on a couple of things. What struck me when I was looking at the simulator figures, you said the average was 11.5%. What struck me was both the median and the mode were 15%. Over half the people who responded were saying, let's slap on a full 15%. So I think actually I think you're suggesting phase up to 11.5. Personally, I think we should be looking to go higher, judging by that sample anyway. The other thought that I had, and I've banged on about camper vans before, but I think that the idea of a voluntary scheme's got a lot of merit. What I've been thinking about is how we can differentiate between visitors who, like me in the old days, we would come up in the summer for 3 weeks and we go home again, But there are some people like bunk campers who their vans are there all summer long. And we really should be getting more money out of them. I'm not quite sure how we do that, but we really need some scheme that somehow captures the difference between rentals and occasional visitors. But just wanted to flag that up. Thank you.
Jackie.
Thank you, convener. Thank you, Alan. I was going to ask if you wouldn't mind explaining why the council doesn't use direct debit a bit more. For example, with the garden waste, we all have to be reminded that we need to pay the fee and get that organised. Then you're using resource to chase people up and try and get the money. And that might be why some people have fallen by the wayside, so they just haven't got around to it. And this could be used for other things like, parking, street parking for residents. So I was just wondering why direct debits are not used a bit more to save on time and resource. Thank you.
Drew.
Thanks, Commissioner. I'm not a member of your board either, so, but I'm not apologising for speaking. Sorry, the garden waste, first of all, I'm a wee bit shocked at that because I diligently take my garden waste up to the recycling plant. I thought I was doing good rather than dumping it over my neighbour's hedge like other people do. So I was just wondering, why are we not looking at producing our own compost from these huge amounts of garden waste, which are offering it to some charities that might be able to turn it into compost. So that was just that one. But the reason I was just wanting to say something was about the camper vans, because a while ago now, whatever committee it was, I rattled off the figures of camper vans that are parking out with campsites on Skye between April, May and June. I think it was 2,500 or something like that. And so therefore, I mean, I like Alan's idea there about if we have ground available in the ownership of the council, we should be turning it into stances for camper vans. But one of the council officials, and I can't remember who it was, but following that statement that I made at a committee, said to me, we could easily control camper vans in Skye, just turning it into like one of these low emission zones and have a number recognition cameras on the bridge and at ferry terminals, just catching all these people. But I think the way that I'm sorry being parochial, but on Skye, our campsites are full by probably early afternoon every day of the week, right through the whole of the summer. So therefore, we wouldn't be standing on anybody's toes by actually having a council-owned properties or allowing camper vans to park overnight in our car parks and charge them accordingly, because there is a huge revenue out there. And I know John is expecting me to say something, but if Skye was successful in becoming a national park, I'm sure we could introduce a bylaw that would prevent people from parking in laybys overnight or in quarries or in people's driveways as well. So there's a huge income here that's been completely untapped, and we need to tap into it as quickly as we possibly can. Thank you.
Be careful what you wish for.
I wished for a bicycle when I was 12 and I didn't get one.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. So, Paul, yeah, in terms of, it was interesting observation, that you make, and I think that's the purpose of this report, is really just to share what those observations look like, with some options. So I appreciate the comment. I think similar to Drew's comment on how the camper vans, I think there needs to be a mini officer working to pull together what this policy would look like. What I'm picking up is it seems to be general agreement. There is something there. It's just what that looks like, how we implement it, fairness without causing economic disbenefit, if you like. And I think we can absolutely do that. And I think it also ties in to then how is it paid and methodology. And Jackie, your comment on the direct debit, absolutely well made. What we did see within council tax, for instance, in 2014, when I first took over, we recognised and saw that the key to maximising council tax collection rates was to increase direct debit. And in 2014, it was something like 54, 55%. We're now at 75%. And there's no coincidence the fact during that time, we've maximised collection rates. So DD is absolutely an effective way of collecting it. I think what we do have, certainly working with ICT colleagues on the garden waste, we're looking to digitise that process. So it's not just by paying by DD, the actual application is one application, that's it. You don't have to renew every year, if you like. Therefore, you will much less have chance of having customer drop-off with that in mind. But certainly, just to reassure, the Council's commitment generally is to direct debit where it's suitable to do so. And here's hoping perhaps even the new financial system that comes in next year might even give us additional functionality where we can do that. Because a great thing, just to finish with on the DD, is if you collect it, if the refunds are due, it's much easier to give it back. It's automated unpaid automated payment direct debits. If you collect it DD, you can make the payment electronically. So it reduces the admin overhead as well for those few occasions you have to make a repayment or refund. So it's certainly strategically, it's the direction that we're taking. It's just it's not completely exhausted across all income types yet. Okay, thank you.
Members, there are 4 recommendations in your papers. You happy to agree those? Thank you. Item number 8 on the agenda is My Council Programme, Customer Charter. Thanks, Alan. Kate.
Good afternoon, members. I'm here today to speak to the Customer Charter. It would have been Alison Clark, but she's unable to split herself in more directions than one, unfortunately, so you're landed with me for today. I think the Customer Charter has come to you today because an awful lot of work has gone into this, and we're really keen to get your views on the progress so far. As you'll be aware, it sits under the Council programme and is a critical part of the customer contact strategy. And so the Customer Charter underpins this, and it's, as an organisation, we want to strive for excellence, but in order to do that, we need to know what standards are that we are trying to deliver, and we need to set clear expectations around about that. What you'll see from the Customer Charter is those expectations are not only just of our staff, but also of our customers, and we want to clearly articulate what we will do, but also in return, what we would expect our customers to do, so that we can have an excellent relationship between ourselves and our customers. The Customer Charter itself has been subject to a lot of internal and external engagement. For us to make sure the Customer Charter is meaningful, it needs to be something that our staff have helped to contribute towards, particularly our frontline staff who deal with customers every day. So there's been a real push to make sure that all parts of the organisation are engaged with on the development of the Charter. But equally as importantly, we need to make sure that the Charter is meaningful to our customers. And our customers, as you know, range across a huge number of different interest groups and communities. So we've engaged with all types of groups, and I've got Andrea Brown here today, who is the project manager for the customer contact strategy, and we'll be able to give you all the details if you wish in terms of the client groups that we have engaged with so far to date. But also what we're wanting to do after feedback from today is do a further bit of engagement before we finalise what that charter is going to say. We also, as you might recall, have engaged with members. We were engaging on the charter outside of the chamber in the September Council, and we had a lot of members come and speak to us about the charter and come back with suggestions as well. So likewise, you know, the third area that we need to make sure is incorporated into our customer services charter is how members view this, because obviously your constituents come to you on a variety of occasions for a variety of reasons, and you need to be sure that our customer services strategy and the underpinning charter for the strategy will work for you as well and for your constituents. So it's there as an appendix. I'm very happy to take any questions or any comments and suggestions for improvement, and as I say, once we've gone out to further consultation and engagement, we'll bring it back as a final piece of work. So thank you very much.
Members, any questions? Raymond.
It's not so much about questions, but the paper invites us to offer feedback. Can I just say about the way that the language is in the charter is much more how I would like to see how council engages with people when it sets out you know, a set of instructions, and you know, it's very much inclusive. And even when there's something that we might term negative to communicate, we actually put it across in a nice way. So I like the language and the way that we've set out the points in the charter. That's my feedback from that, and I think it would be welcomed by the communities. what would be more welcome is if we can actually demonstrate that we can stick to it. Thanks.
Michael.
Thank you, Chair. It was just really to ask how we would be supporting older members who don't have online facilities if we're closing service points. Thank you.
The approach in terms of the customer services strategy is to make sure that we have a way in which all of our customers and clients and members of the community can engage with us that suits them. So absolutely mustn't preclude anyone from contacting us through traditional methods. However, what we do know is that increasingly people are wanting to contact us digitally at whatever time of the day suits them, and our current methods don't always allow for that, aren't always the most straightforward. So our view is, and from engaging with the public as well, and from our own internal customers, if you make digital easier, then you clear the way for other people who don't want to engage digitally to get through on the phone or to get through in person. But we know from our customer contact centre, if you've got lots and lots of people calling the customer contact centre, there are longer waiting times. Rather than necessarily approach that by putting more people in the contact centre, we want to encourage more people who want to engage with us differently. So it's meant to actually open up more methods of engagement, not close them down.
I think, members, if you get any points that you want to bring out with the meeting, if you would email them to Kate, Kate will take them into consideration, because it's a really important issue for us. If there's no other questions, I would just actually like to ask you to agree with the recommendation. Thank you, and here endeth today. Thank you all very much for coming.